One of the most compelling reasons for a shift to active learning is the impact that it has on student engagement and learning outcomes. Hi, I'm Andrew Douch. Lots of lecturers interact with their graduate students in a fundamentally different way than they interact with their undergraduate students. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Dr. Carl Wieman tells of his observations of students entering his graduate program. And he says that although they had 4 years of physics behind them in an undergraduate degree, and although they had excellent grades, they often weren't good problem solvers. They didn't think like scientists. But after just a short period of time in the graduate program, they were transformed, and he started to consider them to be more like colleagues than students. Now the question is that transformation due to the need for a student to pass through 4 years of an undergraduate caterpillar phase in order to emerge as a graduate butterfly? Or is the change in the student in large part due to a difference in the way they're interacting with lecturers? Teachers, including Carl Wieman, who promote active learning's 4 C's, communication, collaboration, complex problem solving, and creativity, almost universally report that it brings out the best in their students, even in an undergraduate program, and transforms their classes into vibrant, thriving learning communities.
I don't think I've ever felt so proud of our students over the last 18 months, so last year and this year, compared to what I had before. I always thought I had students, I was like, oh, I'm really proud of what you've done. And I think I have been in the past, but never this many or this extent or this amount of students or an entire cohort of being able to stand up and say, yeah, I'm really proud of what they have achieved and they're working really, really well and really, really hard. And I think it's much more rewarding as an educator. You feel like you're really helping and really facilitating these students to become better students, but also to really start preparing them for that workforce when they eventually leave Monash.
The internet is changing the workforce far more profoundly than many people realise, and we're on the cusp of even bigger changes. Increasingly, skills can be automated, and lots of skills that can't be automated can be done by somebody overseas who's just as qualified at a lower cost. And that's why it's so important that when students leave university, they don't just leave with knowledge and understanding. As important as those things are, we need to also be equipping them with skills like problem solving, creativity, entrepreneurship, communication skills, and presentation skills, because those sorts of skills are very difficult to automate and very difficult to offshore. Active learning is much more effective at promoting those kinds of skills in students. But the surprising outcome is that that doesn't happen at the expense of knowledge and understanding. On the contrary, teachers everywhere, including myself, have discovered that when students are involved in active learning, they remember and retain information much more effectively, and they also develop a much deeper understanding.
Student comprehension has changed a lot as a result of these changes. Instead of students now just sitting there surface learning some of the theory and frameworks that we used to do, instead now they're actively engaged in learning. So this whole student-centered approach where they are taking the framework and the theories and the content and applying it to practical examples. Their learning is now so much deeper than the old surface learning they used to be engaging in.
We're really thinking about how are we going to get our students to collaborate? How are we going to be getting them to undergo collaborative learning, which will promote communication? And if we've got communication between our peers, then we're more likely to be able to push them to solve some complex problems.
And I think when we're getting them to complex problem solve, we're also allowing our students to become a lot more creative in what they're doing as well. So we're starting to really get them to work at that higher order of the Bloom's taxonomy. And as a reward for this, for both us and for the students seem to be a lot more comfortable in the environment. They feel a lot safer, and there's a certain level of connectedness between the students, but not just between an individual group, but I think there's also connectedness between the students and the staff as well.
They're often challenging each other. So when they have to apply the theory to an example, they often come up with alternative points of view. And this is where the learning becomes really deep, because through challenging each other, they're thinking in so much more detail about some of the theory. And looking at alternative points of view, I think, is a really great way for students to understand the concepts in so much more detail than if they had just read them or listen to someone else telling them about those concepts.
In addition to a deeper understanding and a greater ability to communicate and collaborate, teachers also tend to find that when students are taught in an active learning environment, it's a better social experience for students too. They like it better and feel a stronger sense of connection to the class, the teacher, and the subject.
I believe this change has really reduced the anxiety levels in our students. Rather than that last minute rush to get an essay finished on the night it's due, instead they're coming to class and learning progressively across 12 weeks, rather than this cramming that we used to see. And this is reducing anxiety. It's really lifting students' confidence in understanding the material, and we're seeing a much richer application of the theory now.
So we didn't realise just how instrumental our collaborative learning teams had been until the end of semester one, and we have the privilege of having these students for 2 semesters. But at the end of semester one, we looked at who had gotten the highest mark for semester one, and we thought we'd like to reward them with a little prize. I wrote to the students, there were 3 of them. I wrote to their students via email just saying, look, you've topped the class, we'd like to give you a prize at the start of the first lecture for semester 2. Would you be happy for us to do that within the lectures? And 2 of those 3 students wrote back to me and said, wow, this has made my day. I'm so excited to have topped the class, but I have to say, this is not my award. This is the award of the team of people that I worked during the semester with. And as an educator, that was brilliant. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's amazing, isn't it?